Welcome, everybody. NBA Odds Couple Show. Mike Brenner coming to you today. I'm going to be talking today with Jordan Sharp. But before we get into that, we had a two-team ticket casher last night, getting it done and getting it done comfortably. And that's the production you deserve. We only had the one play last night. And as I said, it was a casher. So with that being said, I'm going to pan this board. Accountability is everything to me this season. Last night moved it up to 140 and 115 at 55%. And again, there's a bunch of playoffs left, and I am confident I will be moving that number up continually. And that does include tonight because I got two strong picks. With that being said, I'm going to bring on Jordan Sharp, and we're going to break down tonight's NBA slate and see where the advantage may lay. Jordan, how you doing, my friend?
Big Mike, all I got to say is the NBA odds couples just keeps getting more odd with me filling in for Low Shack. You are on fire, sir. Anybody who's not tailing your picks, I don't know what to do for them, sir.
Well, I appreciate the props, and I appreciate the vote of confidence. And it's just that time of year where we got to stay focused. So with that being said, let's get right into it, my man. Detroit taking on Cleveland. You absolutely had this one nailed. You have a really good call on Detroit. And had I listened to your advice, I would be even more on fire. But again, not looking in the rearview mirror. But what can Detroit do today to not kind of collapse as they did? Because, Jordan, they had a 7-point lead with 11 minutes left in that ball game. What's different about this game today in your eyes?
What's different is, and this is really just a hunch, I have a feeling Cleveland's going to come out and be very locked in, but they seemed locked in game number one, and it really didn't help too much. They didn't get much production outside of their big three in game number one, and if that continues or one of them have a bad game, that could spell bad news for Cleveland. So, I'm not quite sure. I'm kind of in the same position as I was in game one. I want to take the points. I'm just not sure if I got the cojones for it, so to speak.
Yeah, there you go. And, you nailed it on the head. The big three played outstanding, and they did not get much help. J.R. Smith was ice cold, and, they're just really lacking that six-man off the bench. Dellavedova had a big presence last year in the playoffs, but what I've noticed this year, he is not as aggressive when he does get in there, and there's just something different about his style of play. Now, Detroit, they shot 50% from the field, 52% from three-point land, and 75% from the free throw line. I don't know how they can do any better in this ball game tonight. And when you look at Cleveland, they shot 44, 34, and 76%. All right. Obviously, there's got to be some adjustments made. Do you think Andre Drummond may hold the key to that adjustment?
Yeah, it's going to be Andre Drummond. It's going to be the Pistons continuing to get support from guys outside of Reggie Jackson. Marcus Morris and Kentavious Caldwell both had 20-point games in that one. That has to continue. They need this Pistons team, if they want to win a game and have any chance at tying this series heading back to Detroit, they need to get constant production from guys outside of Reggie Jackson and Drummond. And you're right. Drummond needs to be the man in the middle and just dominate the paint both offensively and defensively. He's not much of a shot blocker, even though he seems like it, but he needs to be here tonight with those guys coming into the paint here and attacking for Cleveland. But if they continue to get that, if they continue to get 4 or 5 guys into double figures, they're going to cover this game. And Cleveland, they're a good defensive team, but outside of LeBron James and maybe Iman Shumpert, they're not a lot of great individual defenders, and that's the problem with this matchup against Detroit is they have a lot of good individual scorers and a lot of guys that can hurt you in a lot of different ways. So, the key really for Detroit is just to keep the formula alive and just not fall apart like you said they did.
Yeah, exactly. And, Moskov, he's just not manning up underneath. There's really a lack of defense there. But there's one stat that stuck out. Detroit, they had 10 turnovers, which isn't a massive amount. But Cleveland only had 4 turnovers in that game, and that's kind of unusual for that team. They're used to turning it over quite a bit. Another thing that made a big difference, and you know what? I don't understand this, Jordan, for the life of me. If something's working, don't change it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, Marcus Morris had 17 first-half points. The guy was on fire. He was letting his presence be known. He was gaining confidence, and for whatever reason, they got away from that in the second half. And that puzzles me when a coach doesn't break it down and say, look, let's keep this going because this seems to be working. Any thoughts on that with Marcus Morris?
Yeah, I think Marcus Morris is going to continue to come out and be aggressive. Like I said, they need him and Pope to be aggressive on the offensive end because LeBron, they need to put pressure on LeBron to actually play defense. So he actually has to put up forth a little effort, and maybe that loses a little bit of his energy on the offensive end. And Pope has to win his matchup against J.R. Smith or Iman Shumpert, as does Reggie Jackson. At least has to match what Kyrie Irving does. So I think we're right. I think Morris, Stan Van Gundy is a very good coach, and I said this in my NBA Picks of the Day article. If you go and check that out, the NBA playoffs in the NBA playoffs, you got superstars. They're going to win games, but your coach is going to win you a game. And the coaching matchup in this series absolutely favors the Detroit Pistons. Stan Van Gundy has playoff coaching experience. He's going to make some adjustments. I don't think he's going to let his team fall apart like that. He's going to keep the pressure on. I think they're going to continue attacking that Cavaliers interior defense. So I'm kind of talking myself into taking the points tonight, Big Mike. I don't know, man. What are you feeling?
I could hear you. I could hear it in your voice. Seriously, I kind of felt you leaning that way. Again, you touched on some good points because I read some articles as well, and I'm a big Van Gundy fan. He knows how to defend LeBron. Through the years, any team LeBron's been on, when he faced Van Gundy, those teams were ready for him. So, look what Stanley Johnson did. He only played 16 minutes, but he was a huge contributor last game. So I don't see Detroit kind of getting down on themselves and losing confidence because they let that lead squander. I think, if anything, they come out even more on fire. Me personally, staying the hell off of this game, Jordan. The Cavaliers have hurt me too much during the year, and I just don't feel that edge right now. I thought if they did have it, they would have displayed it in game one, but obviously they didn't cover for me. On the teaser, they certainly didn't cover that half, but, there's always that possibility that LeBron mojo, could just affect the whole team, but I don't know. Right now, I saw the line at -10, but at the end of the video, we'll get to our picks, but I'm going to stay off of that one. Now, with that being said, moving on to this next game, and I was this close to putting some money on Charlotte because your breakdown was magnificent, and bottom line, when the game played, they just absolutely went south. Charlotte did. What possibly can they do to get back up from that blowout, gain some confidence, and find the weak spots in that Miami offense? What do you think possibly can happen, or is it maybe a little too late?
I don't think it's too late, but man, their defense was just atrocious in that game. Gave up 41 first quarter points. Kemba Walker had an awful first half. Really, the only guy that was playing well for that team was Nick Batum, was on his way to easily cashing my prop bet on him on that night before they got blown out, and he didn't play very much in the end of the game. He fell one rebound point assist shy of cashing the over for me now, and that was a little disheartening. But obviously, Charlotte got whooped a little bit here in game number one. The problem with that is, you look at the way Miami played. Luol Deng had 31 points, hit like 5 threes. I don't think that's going to happen again. You had guys coming off the bench just nailing threes. Miami could not miss from beyond the arc, and I think that Charlotte is going to make this adjustment here tonight. Obviously, I think they'll bring their defense a little bit more. But one thing I think they have to do is they cannot get caught up in a half-court battle with this team. Miami is too talented in the half-court offense with Dwayne Wade. They got Whiteside controlling the paint. Deng has always been a very, very good half-court player, and of course, Goran Dragic was dishing tremendously in that game. They need to speed this pace up, Mike. They need to get out and run against this older Miami Heat team who is good in transition. Don't get me wrong; they're a very good transition defensive team. But I think the only way the Charlotte Hornets get a cover here is if they speed this game up. Whether or not that's going to happen or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, my confidence is completely shot with this Charlotte Hornets team after game one. I'm going to need to see a big bounce back for them before I get any sort of confidence in going back to maybe giving them the edge on my picks against the spread back home in game three. But for this one, I do have a play on it. It's going to be on the total, though. We'll, of course, get to that later in the video.
Yeah, and some stats really stick out, and it's amazing. 11 assists is all that they had, Charlotte, to the Heat's 27. All right, they had 11 turnovers. The Heat only turned the ball over 6 times, and they got crushed on the boards against the Heat, 42-28. Amari Stoudemire, here is this guy, 50-something years old. I'm just kidding, but he is still contributing. Jordan, the guy was 4 for 6 from the paint. From the floor, 11 points, 3 rebounds in 16 minutes. That's the kind of contribution a veteran can bring to a team. All right, they don't need to overplay him like Vince Carter kind of gets overplayed in Memphis. But that leadership and that production in the small minutes he gets, that is absolutely priceless. And Luol Deng, I think, again, had the game of his life. But what I did notice several times during the year when it was obvious that Bosch wasn't coming back, he really stepped up in some key situations. And I think he's going to feed off of that energy. And I think this team just gained a whole bunch of more confidence, knowing that, hey, we're going to get through this series. And they already know they have Cleveland's number. So I'm telling you, look out Miami Heat. They might be making some noise. With that being said, Whiteside, again, his presence is felt. He had 11 boards. He was 9 for 11 from the field. So this team shot very well, and I'm anxious to see what's going on. I have to ask your opinion on this. What's up with the -4.5 line? I certainly thought this would be set at about 6 or 7, if not even 8.
I completely agree with you. I think that the books realized that Charlotte kind of played as worse as they possibly could, while the Heat played as probably their best game they possibly could. So maybe game number 2, when adjustments come into play, very important for the playoffs, they think that maybe that Charlotte will show up a little bit better. Like I said, maybe they'll bring that defense along with them that they completely forgot to pack for South Beach in game number 1. But I'm skeptical as well of this line. That's kind of why I decided to lay off the line and maybe go with a play on the total for this one for my second NBA pick of the day here but yeah, it's a little bit questionable. Maybe this is the line you could maybe get with a tease Miami down to a pick 'em or something like that if you feel pretty confident in the Heat tonight. But yeah, I'm laying off the line as it is right now. It's just like you said, it just smells so much like a trap because it came out exactly the same as game number 1, even after that blowout.
Yeah, it really does. And through the year, I've gone on my rants against coaches and players and things of that nature because I wear my feelings on a sleeve in this business. I expect to win every game. Will I? Hell no, but I expect to. And you know what? My hat is off to Eric Spoelstra. I really got to tell you, the guy's done a great job. I didn't know that he had the insight that he has and he was as good of a coach as he was, because I thought he just had all that talent and it kind of just made him look good. But this year really he stood the test of time. He's hung in there. He's resilient, and his team is as well. And you know what? I like that for South Florida because a lot of people didn't think they would recover when LeBron left. So with that being said, the last one on the board tonight is Portland against the Clippers. And this was a big ticket casher for me the other night. I had Clippers on the half, I had them on the game, and they most certainly covered, and they did it with a commanding fashion. Blake Griffin, he played better than anybody thought he would, and I've been saying this for several weeks. This team is quietly getting it done, and they're going to quietly make some noise and be dangerous. Easy win on the first time out. Portland shot 40%, 33%, and 73%. Another thing that I've alluded to all year long, Jordan, and actually you and I have actually spoke about this on several occasions, Portland is the same team that lost 4 starters, okay? Damian Lillard literally is holding that team together. CJ McCollum's done a great job. But other than that, this was a rebuilt team. And Terry Stotts, you got to say the guy has coached his ass off. Is there any way possible, all right, that Portland can come back and get back into this game tonight?
They are going to need CJ McCollum to overcome that stifling Clippers defense. The Clippers did a number on those Portland guards in game number 1, but the problem is I don't really expect that to change much because the Clippers and Doc Rivers have a very excellent game plan defensively. They know that the Blazers got over 40% of their offense from those 2 guards this entire season. All they have to do is shut down one of them, and they're going to win this game. And that's what they proved in game number 1. They're going to continue to do what they did in game number 1, which is double Damian Lillard as every chance they get, put stifling defense on CJ McCollum, and let Al-Farouq Aminu have every last open three-pointer he wants. Obviously, this team lacks a strong third offensive weapon. That's going to be their downfall in this series. I think, once again, the same formula we followed in game number 1, Clippers on the half, is going to be an excellent bet. I tailed you on that one, and absolutely was a great play. Clippers on the game line, a little bit question mark for me, because I do think that Terry Stotts, like you said, underrated coach, has done a very good job this season. But in the end, Blake Griffin is too much of a man, and there is nobody, and I mean nobody, on the Portland Trailblazers that can slow him down when he and DeAndre Jordan are on the court at the same time. It's just too much. Chris Paul is still showing that he can defend Damian Lillard and match him and make him frustrated. Lillard had a lot of balls and passes deflected. Paul had a couple of great steals against him. I mean, there's just too much talent on this Clippers team and just not enough offense on this Blazers team.
Yeah, and another thing that stands out, Chris Paul and J.J. Redick were lights out. They were on fire shooting the other night. And again, I think the old man, as they call him, Chris Paul, against he kind of not schooled them, but he let those youngsters know on the other side, hey, I still got this, and you're going to respect that. And I'm telling you, the confidence that this team is gaining with Griffin coming back, letting all that drama be gone, because nobody's talking about what happened 3-4 months ago now. It's all about business, and Doc Rivers has done a great job holding that together. My hat is off to him as well. I look for them to keep the pedal to the metal, and as I want to recommend to them, Paul Pierce, let the old man stay on the bench. He didn't get a lot of playing time, and I know this is the time he can be effective at spots, but I would be real careful when I'm inserting him because his age is catching up with him. I think they still need to run and gun with the youth that they have, and let's keep this thing going. And that's definitely going to be one of my picks. Any last thoughts on this before we put our picks out? As far as, do you think J.J. Redick and Chris Paul can keep this consistency up tonight?
I do, because I don't think Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum are great defenders. And another point that I think is very important to remember in this, if the Clippers, these two teams played 4 times in the regular season, and Portland actually out-rebounded them and actually had killed them in points in the paint. If the Clippers can reverse that, like I think they did in game 9, I think they both out-rebounded them and had more points in the paint. I have to go back and double-check that. But if they can continue that trend as well as slowing down one of those two guards, it's absolutely over. This game's going to be 4 games, maybe 5. Portland may steal 1 at home. But, yeah, it's like you said, it's just too much talent on this Clippers team. And one thing that has really dogged them in the past is their bench. That has absolutely changed this year. Clippers have a very deep bench. They can go 9 guys deep, maybe 10 guys, like you said, if they want to throw old man Paul Pierce out there for a few minutes too. But yeah, it's just too much talent, too much depth, too good a defense on this Clippers team. I'm with you. I expect them to be a pretty good play tonight.
Yeah, I think Clippers are in their heads now, and that can be a dangerous thing, especially when you don't have a lot of veteran presence that have played together for more than one season, and that's simply the case there. All right, well, with that being said, let's get to our picks of the day. I'm going to let you fire off yours first, Jordan, and I'm going to put my picks out. We're not going to pan the board again, but I will go ahead and put our picks out, and we'll go from there. Who do you like tonight?
All right, well, I'll go ahead and say I'm 4-4 on the playoffs. Had a split a pair last night. Missed my teaser on the Hawks and the Celtics, but nailed first half under on the Grizzlies and Spurs. So even money, even record here. I'm looking to go above 500 with my 2 picks today. I mentioned it earlier when we talked about Hornets Heat. I think the Hornets are absolutely going to push the pace here tonight. It's their only chance. They need Kemba Walker to come out and be more aggressive. They need to play a little bit faster. Get this team Miami on their heels. With the way Miami played on offense, though, I don't think the Charlotte Hornets can play worse on offense either. I think we're going to see a little bit of a higher scoring game in this one. I think the total's going in the wrong direction. You're looking at a 198.5, 199 total right now. If the Heat are still dominating on the half court, they're going to have a really good offensive rating. I think the Hornets are going to improve theirs. I think over in that game is definitely a good one. And my other one, I got a 2-team teaser tonight, going with Detroit, teasing them up to 14.5 or 15, depending on if you're going with a 4 or 4.5 point teaser. And I like teasing down the Clippers down to 4.5 or 4, depending on, like I said, which one you're doing. That's my second NBA pick. What do you think about both those?
Well, I like it. And another thing we didn't talk about in that Hornets game is Jeremy Lin. You might see him come out tonight and really be aggressive. And if that happens, I think that total will soar over. I think, like you said, they can't afford to get in a half court battle with the Heat. So they're going to be running and gunning. And the Heat, they do have what it takes to run up and down the floor. As far as that teaser, I don't see where you can go wrong with Detroit. That's something I should have done last time. And Clippers, well, I'm actually on that one as well. With that being said, I've got 2 picks tonight, kind of clicking on all cylinders here and looking to keep it going. My 2-team teaser, I went ahead and took the Heat at -0.5 after the adjustment because I think they're just going to get it done. They don't want to lose that home court advantage. And I coupled that with the Clippers -4.5. I think they're just too much veteran presence, and they're not going to lay off that gas pedal. I think they're going to get it done tonight. So the Heat and the Clippers on a 2-team teaser. And then my second pick, Jordan, is the Clippers once again on the first half. Now, the first game, that first half was a lot closer than it looked.
Yep.
It came down to an actual minute and a half before they separated themselves. I don't think that's going to be the case tonight. I don't think Portland's going to stick around early in this one. I think Clippers are going to try to be more aggressive. And the reason I say that, I look for them to go for the bigger lead at halftime and maybe kick back in that fourth quarter and rest some guys before they head out to Portland. So Clippers on the half -4.5, and then the Heat and the Clippers on a 2-team teaser. That's my 2 picks. And Jordan likes the Hornets and the Heat over 199, and also a 2-team teaser with Detroit and the Clippers. Okay, Jordan, with that being said, my man, thanks for filling in. I appreciate the good insight and the breakdown. Let's get together and let's do this again tomorrow, and let's beat that book, my man.
That sounds good, brother, man. Hey, everybody, make sure you check out my prop picks. I've been awful so far to start the playoffs, but I'm looking to rebound here tonight. I think that maybe a guy like Hassan Whiteside could have another big game. We're looking at a couple other player props here tonight, so stay tuned for that as well.